That speech that Donald Trump gave to Congress, that's the gift that keeps on giving in the courts of law. So many different ways Donald Trump's confessions out loud in front of what he thought was a friendly audience are being used in the courtrooms by the plaintiffs, especially when it comes to Elon Musk and DOGE. And we talk about it. One place that I know of on the YouTube dial, Legal AF, the podcast. And here's a clip. We call it the After Dark clip from one of our most recent shows.
Let's talk about, though, the joint session address. Talk about what Donald Trump said about Elon Musk and DOGE, to remind everybody in all of the various federal court cases where Trump and DOGE and the various departments have been sued. The Trump administration's position is that Elon Musk is not the leader of DOGE, and DOGE is not a new department. That DOGE is simply a division that already existed before on digital services, which would help with like the websites, kind of did some IT work, not actually destroy the government. And they were saying that Elon Musk is not its leader. Who's the leader? They like made up someone named Amy Gleason. And they're like, it's Amy. And Amy was like in Mexico, and she was like, okay, I guess it's me. And and you're like, well, why are they doing that? Why are they playing games? Because they want to call Elon Musk a special advisor to Donald Trump, say he works exclusively in the executive branch so that they don't have to have any accountability, and they could assert executive privilege, Presidential Records Act immunity, and reject all FOIA requests, Freedom of Information Act requests, and to also object to the extent Congress ever tries to subpoena Elon Musk, make it an executive power, executive branch versus Congress dispute, and say, we're not going to make him available. So it's all about the lack of transparency. But with that as background, here's what Donald Trump said at the joint session. Let's play it.
And I have created the brand new Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. Perhaps you've heard of it. Perhaps. Which is headed by Elon Musk, who is in the gallery tonight.
I mean, also so utterly tone deaf, right? I mean, again, that scene out of the joint session really looked like what you would have seen in, with Saddam Hussein's Iraq, what you see now in kind of North Korea, where they all clap for Kim Jong-un, really, like that. It's a, Donald Trump would also say things there like, and we're going to get rid of the CHIPS Act. You mean like the act that the bipartisan investment fund that like invested billions of dollars in red states, and you're going to like crush jobs in red states? Yes, dear leader. Yes, dear leader. But let's not, this isn't the political show. It's the intersection of law and politics. Popok, talk to us, though, about the significance of that admission right there and how it's been used in court.
Bad news for the Department of Justice under Donald Trump, because now they're no longer going to be able to look judges in the eye and say they don't know who runs DOGE. Here's the organogram that's been, you and I and our audience knows what it is. But they've been playing fast and loose in a shell game with judges, and judges, as we've reported, are now fed up. And right after that statement was made, that confession was made by Donald Trump, they took a clip of it, and at least one of the 12 or so cases that are where the Trump administration has been sued about things Elon Musk and DOGE has done. They sent in the clip as under a title of a document called New Evidence, to help solve this mystery. It's really no mystery to anybody except for the official filings and statements made by these Department of Justice lawyers for Donald Trump. DOGE sits unconstitutionally outside government through a special advisor named Elon Musk that they're trying to hide behind executive privilege. At the same time, they set up a shadow entity in the executive branch, taking over the original Office of Digital Services, which was like the webmaster for the government before, and they made it the DOGE Services. So they just sort of added the name. They put this phony figurehead person that you mentioned, this healthcare executive from Tennessee, who's a boss, works for DOGE and Elon Musk. That's how she got there. She had been in the digital services before, working on the COVID marketing response for Donald Trump. How did that go? So that's that. And then through that, they control two things: the Office of Personnel Management, where Elon Musk has already co-opted for himself a email address, sending out emails through hr@opm.com. Judges have already said the Office of Personnel Management doesn't have the ability to hire and fire the federal workforce. That's at the cabinet level. And then you have Elon Musk's Doge bros, his teenage 20-year-olds running around from his former tech companies, now with up to their elbows in our payment systems on the various servers and computer networks for all the major agencies that pay money to American citizens, like Treasury, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, State Department, and they're pushing the reject button. Even when cabinet level secretaries like Marco Rubio for State say this $50 million payment needs to be made through the Secretary of State, through the State Department, they're going in and unchecking, I'm not making this up, unchecking the boxes and making sure the payments don't go out, which puts the Department of Justice in a weird place in front of judges, because judges like, why didn't the payments go out? I don't know. Who's in charge? And they make these lawyers, and lawyers are willing to do it. I'm not letting them off the hook. They're willing. It's no longer plausible deniability, but they're willing to have less than perfect information about what's going on because they don't want to have to answer those hard questions, sort of like our press secretary in her control. So in about 12 different cases, they've taken various positions that Elon Musk has no power, no role. He's an advisor. It's just that he's influential. And now we know we've always known it's a lie, that Elon Musk is the one. Even though he's recently gone to Republican legislators who are getting a lot of grief back home and are canceling town hall meetings, and said, I'm not the one that's actually doing the firing and the defunding. I don't know why I'm getting all the blame for that. While Trump is apparently, according to reporting, trying to rein in Elon Musk and re-empower the cabinet secretaries who were properly properly confirmed, at least by the Senate, and telling them, you decide who gets fired from your federal workforce, not Elon Musk, which led to the fight in the White House. I'm not making this up. It led to a fight in the White House, broke out onto the front pages of the New York Times, between Marco Rubio and Elon Musk, about Elon Musk interfering with Marco Rubio's ability to be an independent Secretary of State. And then it broke out, it spilled over to Sean Duffy, the head of the Transportation Department, about, why is your DOGE guys cutting my what do you call it? Not my flight attendants, sorry, my controllers, the people that handle the planes and the traffic. Why are you cutting them? While planes are falling out of the sky. So this is not, again, we keep saying this phrase, I don't want people to get fatigued by it. This is not normal in the first 50 days. Courts are now going to be handling this in these 12 or 14 different cases that are at bottom about Elon Musk. It's all going to come to a head soon, because somebody is going to get the bright idea, a judge or a lawyer, that they're going to want to get Elon Musk under a deposition, under sworn testimony. And we're going to watch the Trump administration block it and say he was executive privilege. He doesn't get to give that testimony. And then we're going to have yet another constitutional crisis that's going to wend its way up to the Supreme Court.
That's where we're heading in the next 9 months. I wish it was sooner.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to be looking in June. I target June, July. I bet you we have that Supreme Court case trying to compel Elon Musk to testify. The Trump administration saying that he's executive office, the people seeking the deposition showing all of these things to show that that's pretextual. And then the question is, where all of the data and evidence shows that this person is actually not a special advisor and the leader, can the executive branch make that type of claim? It's why when we talk in this episode about that 5-4 dynamic, I think it does seem that, on a lot of the horrific stuff, the right-wing Supreme Court 6-3 is going to hold. On some of the stuff that looks more like the dictator king stuff, I think you'll see slight, not the type of pushback that we need, but enough on some of these cases, the most egregious ones, Trump will lose because it seems that Amy Coney Barrett and Justice Barrett and Justice Roberts will be joining the liberals against Trump just on those specific types of cases. You know, it's important that we track these types of admissions here on Legal AF early on to give you kind of the heads up of future developments before they actually take place. I'll give you another example that not a lot of people are talking about, especially in this context. And I'll give a heads up or a hat tip to Kyle Cheney for flagging this one. But let me give it a deeper context. So there was a hearing before a new DC judge named Judge Sparkle Sukananen, and she said that she was surprised at the breadth of the DOJ's argument and troubled by their inability to identify any agency that Donald Trump would not have total removal authority over, and said, can you give some Supreme Court precedent suggesting there are, that exists, or aren't there some modest limits? So then the DOJ lawyer, so the Trump administration's lawyer, then says that the Federal Reserve is one such agency that Donald Trump would not be able to touch. And then the judge pressed this lawyer to articulate why, under the administration's theory, Trump wouldn't be able to take over the Federal Reserve as well, to which this DOJ lawyer said, that question is above my pay grade to answer. Michael Popok, how long do you think that DOJ lawyer is going to have a job making arguments in front of a federal judge like that? Because we all know that one of the places Trump definitely wants to go is the Federal Reserve and to take over the Federal Reserve. As Trump tanks the economy more and more and more, and as we enter into a period called stagflation, like it's the worst thing imaginable, GDP contraction and high inflation at the same exact time, what Trump's going to do, because he's the worst at everything, is make matters worse by he's going to want to seize control of the Fed, and he's going to want to artificially reduce the interest rates, which will just further tank things and make things worse if it's not handled. So now, though, you have, and this is why I want to flag it now, it was a minor thing that was brought up, or it seemed minor, but that's going to be a major admission, I think, a year down the road when I think Trump tries to take over the Federal Reserve, and this will be cited. So I want to flag it for all of the legal community and for all of our legal AFers. Remember this moment this week. Minor moment, huge implications.
If Trump finally takes over the Federal Reserve, which he threatened to do in his first term, and get rid of Jay Powell, it will reflect. We're getting close to 25th Amendment time, because the reporting right now is that his inner circle and those with Wall Street experience have convinced him that it would be suicide, political and economic suicide, for him to rattle the markets more by trying to co-opt the Federal Reserve. That's why we've seen in his last set of executive orders, he's carved out the Federal Reserve by name as an agency that's not under his thumb. That's because lots of people around him with Wall Street experience have convinced him that would tank, if it hasn't already tanked the economy, what he's done, that it would further tank the economy. That's why we're seeing sort of the rollback on tariff war. Then he has a phone call with Claudia Sheinbaum, and she wins the war, and he decides that she's a lovely person, and he's not going to do the tariff war anymore with in effect with Mexico. Well, he continues to troll Canada. Right. If you're right, and I'm a little bit agnostic right now about it. I think there's people holding him back from doing that, and they've been successful to date. But if that happens, then he's lost the cabinet, because those that are in the cabinet, some of which I know, have been imploring him not to do that, and that will not help the Trump economy. Right now, I don't even recognize, for many reasons, this person they call the president, because he used to tout the stock market, and now he says, don't look at the stock market. The stock market's not going to reflect how I'm improving people's lives, and which is, as you said, a tin ear or tone deaf set of observations that are just going to get him and the Republicans to get whipped at the midterms, because they are not recognizing the suffering that is going on in the first 50 days of their administration. With, the stock market's just one indicia of it. If we go into that stagflation, and now the Fed and Jay Powell gave their speech where they said, yeah, it's a tumultuous Trump administration that is trying. He's basically saying, in a nice diplomatic way, trying too many things at the exact same time: immigration, tariff war, federal cuts to funding, federal taking the U.S. out of the U.S. economy, and the rest. That has a destabilizing impact on the U.S. economy. When you I'll give you an example of taking the U.S. out of the U.S. economy. There's reports that the Commerce Secretary is considering breaking out of the spending reports the amount that the U.S. government spends, so they can obviously blame the consumer for the problem with the economy. So they want to take the contraction number of them cutting the fuel supply of federal funding, which is one of the components that helps our economy hum. By taking it out of the equation, it's not just a thought experiment, it's people's lives, it's the economy. And so they're going to try to cook the books on the commerce numbers that come out monthly in order so the Trump administration and its cutting of funding doesn't get blamed. And so we're moving quickly into this Orwellian world. We won't touch on it here. All the executive orders this week attacking universities, attacking students, attacking law firms by name, on his retribution campaign. How does any of that make anyone 1 ounce better than they were before the election? I defy anyone to tell me that in their comments.
Michael Popok, you're giving a lot of love to the Mexico president, Claudia Sheinbaum, and it's well-deserved. You also got to give some love, I think, or I will give it, to Prime Minister Trudeau and to mostly all of the premiers of the various provinces of Canada standing up to Donald Trump as well. They got him to back down. Donald Trump actually removed all of those tariffs through at least April 2nd. He said, even though it's a terrible deal, this USMCA, United States, Mexico, Canada agreement that Donald Trump negotiated, he said the new deadline is April 2nd. Canada gave nothing. They ceded nothing. They went elbows up over the boards, and they stuck it to Donald Trump too. And they showed, you ain't going to bully us. They took American booze off their shelves. They've been boycotting tourism. They've been boycotting all things American. And Howard Lutnick, Donald Trump's Commerce Secretary, who seems just like a overt snake oil salesman at this point. Hey, you want some gold cards? What if we got rid of the IRS and replaced it with the External Revenue Service? Imagine how rich we're all going to be. This is all so great. Or Donald Trump's Treasury Secretary, we're just going through a detox period. We're detoxing right now. The pain and suffering is detoxing. America, we want to detox. Canada stood up. They didn't back down. And Lutnick and Besant were saying, can you please make Trump look good? And Trudeau's like, nah, I'm not doing shit. Go away. And Trump, removed the tariffs till April 2nd. And Canada's like, do what you want to do. But we know how this game works at this point. Anyway, I just wanted to give a shout. I know we got a big Canadian audience as well.
Welcome back. I'm Michael Popok. As you know, you're here on Legal AF, the YouTube channel. Take a minute, hit the free subscribe button. We continue our march. We just turned the dial on 500,000 subscribers, all because of you. That's a show on Midas Touch YouTube channel we call Legal AF, the podcast, for a reason. Now you know why, if you didn't know why we called it that. Legal AF every Wednesday and Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and everywhere audio podcast platforms are. We can't build this without you. This is organic. This is word of mouth. We don't have an outside marketing department. You and I are the outside marketing department. Take that clip, send it to people in your life, and ask them to join our Legal AF journey as part of their own. If you know everything about Legal AF and maybe you missed that episode, there's a short version of it. Otherwise, it's an hour-long podcast at the intersection of law and politics. We don't pull punches, and we are completely uncensored right here on the Midas Touch Network and Legal AF. So until my next report, I'm Michael Popok. In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories at the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.